the Patriots stink, Steven. They're 1-3. They have a terrible offense. They had one job coming into the season, which was to look respectable on that side of the ball, try to erase the memories of the two-headed Joe Judge, Matt Patricia coordinated monster at offense from last year. And it hasn't happened. Shockingly, with the caveat that they have had very good strength of competition through the first month of the season, they look even worse. They lead the league in the percentage of their drives that end in a punt or a turnover. 71%. Pretty bad. What is your sort of big picture assessment of the Patriots right now?
I think it's like warped because they have played a tough schedule and they're playing against teams that should beat them. So I do think like it's probably better than it was a year ago. It's just like hard to recognize that now. But I think the assessment is the same. It's the assessment we've had for this team since Mac Jones was drafted. There's not enough talent on the offense. Like my comparison is it's like playing chess with all pawns. Like you don't have those special pieces that can move in different ways and force your opponent to take up different strategies. They just don't have that. It's easy to defend this offense because it's constricted to a small space on the field. They're really boxed in when you think about it. Like you don't really have to worry about outside the numbers. You don't really have to worry about deep. When they pass the ball, you don't have to worry about Mac Jones scrambling too much. I know he's done it. He's probably better at it than people give him credit for, but it's not something like you're worried about. If he scrambles, he might get like 5 yards. It's not like he's going to get 15. So it's just the lack of constraints they can put on teams. And I think during that rookie season, they did that through scheme. Like there was a lot of like end arounds, a lot of screen passes, a lot of double passes. And that's kind of how they worked around the lack of talent. Then Josh McDaniels leaves. They replace him with a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator. It doesn't work. Now they have Bill O'Brien out there, and I think Bill O'Brien's doing better stuff, but there's just no way to make up for the fact that they don't have stud receivers on the outside. They don't have a quarterback who can create plays on his own. And I think there's just an expiration date when you run the offense like they did in 2021. Like you can't continue to do that. As we saw during Mac's rookie year, at the end when teams kind of forced him to be the guy, that's when he fell off a little bit. And we haven't seen him recover really since then.
There are some areas to me where they're leaving meat on the bone. And this is the part that really confuses me, because if we go back to last season, there was a whole bucket of things that went wrong that I would put in the general incompetence bucket. Let's put that, like the wackiness of it all aside. There were also some basic schematic things where it was really confusing why they weren't doing them. Chief among them was running play action, running more play action than they were using. Mac was a lot better with it. He was sort of constantly talking about how he liked using it, and then they just didn't. They're still not doing it. They've run 26 plays with play action so far this season. They've run 247 without it. They are a much better offense using play action than not using it, and they're just not doing it. I don't have a good explanation for why they're not doing it. Do you think it's the offensive line?
No, I think that's part of it, but I think the problem is, well, one, the offensive line, like you have to get into certain formations to run it effectively. And like those formations are like under center, heavy formations where the offensive line really plays a role in the success of a run play. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is like game scripts. They've fallen behind in every game, and you don't run play action when the defense doesn't expect you to run. So like, I think like it's hard to say that it's, they're not running enough play action, because I don't think they've been in situations where they're able to run play action or where they're able to run it and it's going to be effective. Like they could have ran play action when they were down double digits to Philadelphia or Dallas, and maybe the rate would have been like 35% and they're at the top of the league. I just don't think those plays would have worked. So I think it's like a combination of personnel and then game script. But like against Dallas, their first play, they went under center, they ran play action, there was a wide open guy over the middle and Mac hit him. I think like I do think it's situation dependent, but I think it's just like how you have to run the offense to get the most out of Mac Jones. Well, the most out of him where you can convince yourself that he's like a franchise level player. Like if he's just running the Jimmy G offense, that's not what you want out of a first round pick. So I kind of see why they haven't run it as much as they did with like even Bailey Zappi last year. I do agree they should run it a little bit more, but like they haven't been able to.
And here's
so
where here's where I'm coming from is that when you watch Mac Jones, like he looks his confidence looks completely shot. And there is, and we should get into this, there is a chicken or the egg thing where we might just be finding out, and maybe you would say that you found this out a long time ago, that this just wasn't the pick. He's not the guy, and there's a ceiling that's pretty low as long as Mac Jones is your quarterback. We should have that conversation, but this team also went into this year with an owner who, like, every second sentence out of his mouth when there's a microphone around is, I'm really upset that we haven't had a playoff win in a long time. And there's this sort of effective mandate of, and to me, it's like, we don't even need to be a Super Bowl team. It's just sort of like,
right,
make the playoffs.
It's realistic. It's a realistic goal.
It's like, be good in that way. And the fact that they are failing to do that right now, and that the quarterback looks like, I mean, when he got benched in that Cowboys game, the second interception, he just didn't want to be out there anymore. And to me, that's when you do have a responsibility to run a little bit more of the stuff that he's comfortable with. I don't really care what the game script is. I mean, they should stop like turning the ball over twice in a row at the beginning of games so that they fall behind by 2 scores like 2 minutes into every game, which is what it feels like. But they're getting into this situation where there's sort of like a dual responsibility to get Mac feeling a little bit more comfortable than he's feeling, which is not to absolve him of his particular shortcomings. It's not that I have a problem with that being like, if we diagnose what's the issue here, it's not that if you're saying, well, the issue is that you don't have the right quarterback. It's not necessarily that I disagree. It's just that he's who they have right now. And if you're Bill Belichick, like, I think he's got about a year, like the full year and maybe next year or part of next year to figure it out. They have to make a decision on the 5th-year option at the end of this season on Mac. I don't really know how you could do that, how you could give it to him right now, but you've got to make something of this team or you're in danger of losing your job. And I don't know, like, in the next 18 months, are the Patriots going to have a better quarterback than Mac Jones?
Maybe. I don't think that's too hard to find. Like, I think you get like Ryan Tannehill and he's a better version of what you want Mac Jones to be. I agree with you. I think like Mac, I've heard people point out the turnovers. Like, Mac's not protecting the football, and that's not a way for this team to win. But like, you're not playing that ball control, protect the football style of offense when you rank at the bottom of the league in rushing anyway. Like, so I agree with you to that point. Like, they don't have the running game anyway to run the type of offense that Mac might need. And that's a failure of Bill Belichick building this roster. The offensive line isn't good enough. The pieces on the outside do nothing to deter the defense from loading up the box. There are so many issues. And then you look at like the start of the season, and even like at the beginning of the segment, I gave them credit because they are playing against a tough schedule. But I think this run has proven how far off they are from getting to the point where they're contending for Super Bowls again. Like, I know like Robert Kraft has lowered the bar to just make the playoffs, please. But that's not the bar for Bill Belichick. I'm assuming Bill Belichick still wants to contend for rings, and they're not close to it. I don't know what you do. I don't know what the answer is for the rest of the year. I think it's just like, stop turning the ball over, run the football better, figure out a way to run the football better, and try to make it work for this year. But I think so far through 4 weeks, we could probably call it. Like, there's no way you give Mac Jones the 5th-year option unless he turns it on from here on out and is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But as things stand right now, given everything we've seen over the last year and a half, I think you just have to start looking to the future. And if that means like playing younger guys at the end of the year and maybe not tanking, but because I don't think Bill Belichick will ever tank, but maybe not trying your best to win every week is probably the best path moving forward, given the quarterback class that's coming up.